What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. I'm Carter the Capable. This is my fellow party member, Luke the Lascivious.
A word that I know.
Yes, if you don't know it, you should look it up. It's a great definition. If you want a cool nickname like that, why don't you go ahead and hit the subscribe button, become a member of the Movie Cart Party. Speaking of parties, Stranger Things Season 5 just came out on Netflix, part 1 at least, and Luke and I, being avid fans of the show, tuned in for part 1, and we figured, it's pretty relevant right now, so might as well give our thoughts and feelings on it. So Luke, I'll start with you with the question, does season 5 part 1 rule or does it drool?
It most definitely rules.
Correct
That's all.
answer.
Yes. Do you like it?
I thought it was incredible. I mean, it's just this show has had, in my opinion, incredible consistency from the first season all the way through.
Yeah, I know a lot of people in my personal life who watched and loved the first season and then never picked it back up. And that's very confounding because I think it's been wildly consistent. A lot of people find season 3 boring. Might be my favorite season.
I think it's my favorite season too. I love that season.
Being in the mall alone. Do you want to do a quick non-spoiler section up top?
Yeah, we'll give our general thoughts on it before we get into the kind of the meat of the episodes, just because it's a little still new, so don't want to spoil too much. But yeah, in general, I think the mid-season finale was fucking awesome. And we'll get into kind of the details as to why later. But another thing, the show looks incredible
Yes.
visually.
The only thing that I would push back on was that flashback sequence with the de-aged Will Byers, him mixed with the CGI Demogorgon. It was just a little beyond our technological capabilities, I think. But yeah, it's wild. This show looks like a James Cameron movie. It's incredible.
Every episode of this show could just be in the movie theater, and you'd be like, this is some of the best CGI I've ever seen.
Yeah, it puts the last few Marvel movies to shame. Just a warning up top, there's going to be a lot of glazing of Stranger Things going on here. But yeah, I thought this was awesome. The only thing I didn't absolutely love, because I do want to get a few nitpicks out of the way before we just gush over this for the next 20 minutes, but I do miss seasons 1 through 3. We had a lot of them being kids and then being friends. And now that we've really hit the end game, as Mr. Strange, Doctor Strange would say. We're cool, so I call him Mr. Strange. But
So cool.
now that we've hit the end game, it's all task oriented. And I do think we're going to get some of those big personal blowouts in the last 4 episodes, but that's the only thing I thought was missing from this first round of episodes.
You are right. It's definitely like very pedal to the metal, like, but it's not rushed. But I do think that, yeah, in seasons past, they had a little bit more time for those more intimate one on one character moments. But I still think this season has those, maybe not as in abundance as past seasons, but there's a couple character moments that are just absolute tear jerkers. I mean, some of the, and that's like one of the biggest reasons I love Stranger Things is the character dynamics, not so much like, I mean, all the upside down stuff is obviously cool, but it's really just the chemistry of all the characters.
Well, yeah, and of course, you still get like Steve and Dustin are in a fight, Mike and Eleven, they've got their little romance. The Mike scene with his sister I thought was awesome. I thought the him and Holly, where he was giving her little pep talk, gaslighting her that monsters weren't real. I thought that was really good. But I'm more talking about like Max and Eleven going to the mall. Even in the personal moments we're experiencing, they are still in service of a task of the overall plot of the show. There's really just no time for dilly dallying.
I agree, and I think that's another awesome part of the show that you and I have talked about a little bit, but, like, we've really watched these actors and the characters grow up. Now they are kind of, they were always the children, getting into mischievous, ridiculous, thwarting entire governments left and right, but now they're kind of grown, and now they're filling in as the protectors for kind of the younger generation of children that are in danger, and I think that part's awesome.
I think that's one of the funny parts is I feel like in the first few seasons, Hopper almost foiled the children's like attempts to help or save the day. And now he's like, that's all I got. This is my secret team. He's made him a militia.
They are the A team. It's actually so funny to me. Like, that's part of the show that if you can't get past it, then like you might not enjoy it. But I love, it's so charming that these kids just constantly defy the odds and are always one upping these far more powerful forces they're up against.
Yeah. I mean, yes, it's incredible. They're the Goonies mixed with the Ghostbusters, mixed with whatever other 80s reference you want to throw in. It's, yeah, it's truly, it's aspirational. If I were a kid who was their age, like this would be like even more identifiable. This would be my shit. But even as it is, it's like, yeah, 2016 was nearly 10 years ago. And by the end of this show, it will have been a full 10 years. And yeah, it's cool to see these kids grow up. Some of them have matured as performers, some of them not as much, which, is fine. It doesn't hamper the show too much. But yeah, it's like we were saying about the Harry Potter stuff last week, where it's just a generation will have grown up with this group of kids. And it's really cool.
Yeah, it really is. I mean, I feel like this is a once a generation sort of event. It's yeah, you're right. It's this generation's Harry Potter, and I think that's the closest comparison because and there's so many parallels. I mean, there's so many like we don't need to get into all of them, but I don't know, it's such a unique and special thing when you have this consistency with the same actors from day 1 all the way through and the story continues to be excellent. It just never really happens that often.
Mostly the same actors. Poor Holly. Girl was 4 seasons of being Holly Wheeler. She finally gets some lines and they have to recast her.
All right, that's a nitpick. I know I've heard there's a lot of dialogue about how the actors are too old now. And to me, I was like, "Oh, it's fine. They're just, older in high school." And then they drop in the show that it's been 4 years since Will Byers first went missing. And I was like, "God damn, that's a stretch."
It's tough. But, we grew up with One Tree Hill and the OC and 90210, where legitimate 35-year-olds are playing high school juniors. So I don't get those complaints at all. I mean, Euphoria is one of the most popular shows on TV. And I think Zendaya is a bit older than these kids.
Yeah, that's never truly bothered me. I just find it like pretty hilarious in the context of the show. They were little and in 4 years they're just grown. But again, it's more just funny to me. That does not bother me one bit in the context of the story. Before we drop into the spoiler territory, I also just want to touch on the fact that this show every season introduces new characters and they've never missed a single time ever.
The only thing that kills me just a little, and this isn't a spoiler, this is a prediction, is that, season 1 we had Barb, season 2 you had superhero Bob Newby. I can't really remember season 3 having a big introduction other than Robin. But then season 4 you had Eddie. Doesn't it just feel like little Derek's gonna bite the dust?
Derek the Delightful. That's the interesting thing, like trying to guess who's gonna bite it in the end. They've had a few fake outs already.
We'll get into that later because it's getting frustrating.
Definitely. I think that it's just incredible. Even Holly, like she's never really been a true presence in the show, but the actress is great. I mean, she's a great presence on screen, and it's just wild to me. And the way they continue to mash up all the different characters into different groups, and it always elevates them. It's just like Robin and Will this season are together a lot more, and it's just great. Like it really brings out a second level
Mhm.
to just both of them.
That whole task force, the Tom, Dick, and Harry situation, like seeing Joyce with Lucas and Will, Robin, that's a definitely a combination you've never seen before.
Oh yeah, and even like Mike, I feel like has gotten redemption this season. Like there are a lot of complaints, and I was one of them. Like with season 4, I was kind of wondering what's this dude even doing here. But
Yeah,
they've really put him back into the same with Will. Really, I mean they've really put them both back into the spotlight, which I think is great.
yeah, especially Will, and it's hard to talk about him without getting into spoilers, but he was pretty much the driving force of the entire plot for the first 2 seasons, and then he left for California. He hasn't really played a pivotal role at all since. I think it's really helped ground and recenter the show to make him and Mike and their relationship, and really then their dynamic amongst their other 2 friends, like the central driving force of the show.
100%. It's really gotten back to the main 4 homies. And really, Will and Mike are like the true heart. Their friendship was always the heart of the show. Real quick before we get into spoilers, have to shout out Erica Sinclair, just batting 1,000 every time she's on screen. She is so damn funny.
Never had a bad line in the show. Yeah,
She
her
always delivers.
her performance at her friend Tina's house was just incredible.
That might be the hardest I've laughed this season so far. I mean, it's just so good. All right, now we're getting into full spoiler territory. If you haven't watched yet, Come back to this video later. I mean, this show is sick. Don't ruin it for yourself. Don't be one of those people. Unless you want to be. Then keep watching.
All right.
All right, Luke, take it away. I'll let you start with the big spoiler talk.
So like I said earlier, my main interest in this show involves the children and their relationships with one another and their relationships with the rest of Hawkins. And this plot is so dense and so all encompassing that you've got, Dustin and Steve Harrington having their little tiff, which drives their car into the upside down, into a wall made of, I presume, Vecna's flesh.
Goo.
And what I'm really, really hoping for in the last 4 episodes, as good as these were, it's like, I hope we get those classic Stranger Things scenes of like those two hashing it out and Will and Mike finally having the conversations they need to have. And like we've set ourselves up to weave those character moments and those like beautiful moments of like camaraderie into the plot itself. And that's again what makes this show so special. But that's my main hope and concern, but I'm not actually concerned. I'm very excited to see how the characters deal with this adversity with each other in regards to their like, interpersonal relationships.
Yeah, I know what you mean. I think that definitely with Dustin, he has some demons to get out with the passing of Eddie. And I didn't think about I was listening to another podcast, the House of R, if you're familiar out there. But they brought up the point that Eddie Munson always tells him never change Henderson. And
Yeah.
after he dies, he's totally changed. And it's the most heartbreaking thing.
It is.
Like he'll hopefully come back around, but he needs to find some peace with Eddie's passing.
Yeah, and Steve's frustration comes from like a jealousy he has of Eddie and how much Dustin admired him, which he knows is irrational, but it's complicated. He's human. He's Steve the Hare Harrington.
What a guy.
That dynamic I just find endlessly interesting. The fact that Will, at the very end of episode 4, was revealed to kind of be more in control of the hive mind than we had previously thought, or that he had previously thought. I'm really interested to see how that affects him, again, more on an interpersonal level, as opposed to how many powers he has zapping at Demogorgons.
Yeah, but him, him becoming Will the Sorcerer was one of the coolest fucking payoffs I've ever seen. I had the biggest, goofiest grin on my face, like, yeah, baby, this is what we've been waiting for. Like, let's go.
It was so incredibly dope. And it really, I don't know how to put this exactly, but it almost makes up for every moment where he seemed like a liability throughout the series. And like he was almost in like Harry Potter terms in the Order of the Phoenix when Voldemort can see through Harry's eyes and it becomes a liability. That was kind of the same relationship Will had with Vecna and the Mind Flayer and the Hive Mind. So to see him like now he's driving, I think it's awesome. It's so rewarding.
And I think it really brings back into focus that this show, it's really Will Byers. Like, I feel like it's easy to think like, oh, it's 11 versus the Upside Down and Vecna, but it's truly Will Byers was always the beginning, and it makes so much sense that he's going to become such a pivotal powerhouse towards the end because he's always been the one that all this nonsense has shafted the hardest. I mean, this poor kid has been through so much. It was so just fulfilling to see that moment finally play out. It was just such a great kind of crescendo on his character arc so far.
I totally agree. How do you feel about the 11 and Hopper storyline we got going on right now?
So, yeah, that's interesting. That probably is one of the weaker parts to me. And I think I was kind of trying to think about how it'd make more sense, but that she and Hopper become convinced that Vecna is already being held captive by the US government in the Upside Down because it's been like 18 months and they haven't found him. But if they had kept true to the like real time break and season 4 to season 5 as far as filming goes, I think it would have made more sense for them to think maybe he truly is caught by the government because it's been 3 years as opposed to,
A year.
12 or 18 months.
Also agree that that's the weakest part of the show, and I think it's ironic because I'd say those are the two breakout stars, and probably the reason we're tuning in is for that relationship. It's still really good, and it's cool to see her kind of master her powers, but yeah, it felt very Last of Us at points where
That's a great comp, yeah.
he was mowing down scientists like like it didn't like they were, you know, Power Ranger villains, and she snapped a dude's neck after looking in his eyes. So yeah, that's like an action movie sequence going on in the background.
I mean, I've always loved their dynamic, obviously. The Hopper second death fake out, I was like, "All right, we're getting a little excessive with this." But even still, like the moment he has with her before he leaves is just that is one of those moments you were kind of referring to earlier that those small character moments are just I don't know, they're just so touching and yeah, I hope more of that comes.
Cannot do a second death montage and then it be another fake out. That's terrible. This is also not a unique opinion. I heard this from someone else, but the first time I was really able to notice and articulate how much I hate that crutch and that device of the death fake out was Chewbacca in The Last Jedi, where like he should be dead,
Oh
right?
no, you're thinking of Rise of
Yeah,
Skywalker.
Rise of Skywalker, where it's just like we saw him die except for the very last second, and then he's just inexplicably okay. That's now happened to Hopper. I mean, this time it was a total fake out, which I guess makes a little more sense. But yeah, at the end of season three, he was dead. Man,
Yeah, I mean, I think a pivotal thing you might be forgetting is the Rise of Skywalker absolutely blows.
yes, that's so. Don't take any storytelling devices from it.
Dude, we haven't mentioned yet because this is a spoiler, but Sadie Sink, Max's character, her reveal in episode 3, so sick.
Yeah, I certainly cheered. I was very happy to see her. She really just exposition dumped for an episode, and that's pretty much. And I think she's perhaps the most interesting performer on the show, like just from an acting standpoint. So I was pretty bummed at what she's done so far, and I'm just really hoping they land the plane on her as a character.
I agree. I was a little surprised that it took all the way till the end of episode 3 for her to come back into the show. Yeah, I mean, Stranger Things, like, I think one problem with it taking so long in between seasons is they do kind of have to exposition dump pretty heavily from time to time.
Yeah.
You know, I still really liked her dynamic with Holly. I thought that was still interesting and the whole dreamscape. It did get a little taxing, I'd say, but overall, I think it was a pretty cool idea.
Yeah. And, I like both characters. Genuinely, there isn't really a character on this show who I don't actually care about their well being. I really want everyone to survive, except maybe Joyce Byers. She's a little kooky. But yeah, I really am invested in the safety of these characters, which is not a feeling I usually have during a television show. But I also think we got to kill some major players for this to feel rewarding.
Maybe it's just the sucker for a happy ending in me, but I don't know. Maybe they all live and it's just a happy they defeat the upside down and they're all just homies and they live happily ever after.
No, you gotta take out someone, and it can't just be Derek. He can't be superhero Bob newbie of this season. You gotta. If you don't mind me getting into prediction territory a little bit, there's gonna be a Will Byers sacrifice, I imagine.
I've thought this for a long time. I feel like that's not like a niche theory obviously, but
Mm.
god, I hope not. That would be what a tragic life that poor kid would live.
I mean, yeah, but every time that like a Demogorgon ran into fire, the fact that he can feel it so vividly, I think, yeah, they're inextricably linked. Him and
But
the
you know what is interesting? Because I was thinking about that. He does kill all the Demogorgons Vecna style, crushes them all, but like he does it individually and he doesn't have any adverse effects. So maybe there's a shot he could. Now, Vecna, it seems he's directly deriving his powers from Vecna. So that's where it's like, ooh, that's danger territory.
I also heard a theory from somebody else. I can't remember who, but there was a kind of a parallel between Eleven and Frodo, where and her and Mike even touched on it. But it's almost a situation where she saves Hawkins, but she can never stay. She can never go back. And I could see that being stakes that aren't a direct character death, but a death of her like innocence and her relationship with Mike, and that would be satisfying in a way too.
I agree because it's, you know, she right there next to Will is the largest tragedy too. I mean, she was a child experiment from day one, and that's her entire life. And then when she's not, she has like a brief reprieve, and then she's right back to being like hunted by the government again.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think there would be some like kind of bittersweetness to the idea that she would just turn, walk away from all of it and maybe she and Mike both go to find that three waterfalled town somewhere out there.
I thought that was a really sweet moment.
I did too.
You kind of privately shit on Finn Wolfhard as an actor. I think the kid's got juice. I liked him.
Well, that's what's cool, but I feel like the Duffer Brothers, they don't let fandom dictate their decisions, but that was some genuine criticism, like, "Oh, Mike really hasn't been doing shit, like, it's time to bring him back into the spotlight and remind people, like, he's always been the leader, like, at least of the kids, like, he was the driving force."
Yeah, he's the dungeon master.
He is.
Have you heard the theory that it's all just a fake D&D campaign?
I would be so fucking angry.
It would ruin my month.
It just zooms out, and it's all they're just still little kids playing a Dungeons& and Dragons campaign.
It would be a bummer.
But, I do think that this show has to end on them playing a Dungeons& and Dragons game,
Oh, of course.
like, in the basement somewhere.
But, like, actually playing.
Oh, yeah, just they're starting a game as the show starts to, like, just go to the end credits or something. Like, I feel like that would just be poetic.
Do you have anything in the last 4 episodes that you need to see to be satisfied with this project?
Honestly, no. Like, I just hope it's a good end. I mean, finales are so hard to stick the landing on, and I think through the first part they've released, it seems like they're on track.
Mhm.
I mean, the mid-season finale was one of the biggest, like, pop moments. I mean, it's the same as the Iron Man snap in Endgame. At least that was the same, like, feelings I had where I was like, "Oh shit, let's go." So, I trust them. It seems like that's another thing. It seems like they've had at least a rough outline of where it would go and how it
Mhm.
would end from day one. Yeah, I mean, I think there's, like, obviously a little bit of retconning that happens and some things that don't totally line up, but I think overall they've had a pretty solid idea of where they were going.
I totally agree. And yeah, at this point, it's kind of a Kevin Feige in 2017 situation where I'm just like, you can't miss with me. I trust you, even if the decisions that don't make sense. I'm with it.
I'm just gonna roll with it. The only other thing I can think of that I want to touch on is Vecna at the very end of the fourth episode, when he's shit talking Will face to face, talking to him about how he was so weak and not meant for this world, and that's why he chose him, and how he's the easiest target. My brother, you couldn't have picked a worse kid to target. You just so happen to pick a kid whose entire friend group are all like child geniuses and they have the nerd knowledge to just take you down every step of the way, you idiot.
Imagine a world where Will Byers isn't friends with Dustin Henderson.
They
Vecna.
would all be cooked. He could have just gone after some random like kid on the basketball team. It would have been he probably would have taken over the world 8 years ago.
If he had kidnapped Derek as his first victim, yeah, world is over. Yeah, you're absolutely right. D&D obsessed kids who can also build gadgets that can thwart demons, and also a child soldier who has telekinesis. That's just bad luck on Vecna's part. Oh, before we can't close without saying shout out to the Duffer Brothers and to everyone involved for not caring how bad that episode was in season 2 and bringing back 8. It's the most maligned storyline in the show's history, and they said that's okay. Let us try one more time. And I think it's nice for her as a performer and for that storyline in general. And I also think it might be a backdoor pilot for numbered folks doing spooky things.
Hey, I mean, I think it would have been a mistake to leave that thread hanging because ever since that episode, I didn't enjoy it. I was one of those people that thought it was kind of bad.
Mhm.
But it was such a big idea that was introduced. It felt like it would have been a huge mistake not to bring her around full circle again.
Agreed.
So the idea of like 11 and 8 and super sorcerer Will Byers just like going toe to toe with Vecna and his army of goon monsters is just
Pretty
the
dope.
coolest shit ever.
But yeah, my only parting thoughts are I hope that the characters are serviced. That's my main. It's the reason I watch the show far more than the sci-fi spooky stuff, which I do like. But I hope we leave all of these characters in a place that makes sense and feels good.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I think it's an incredibly strong start to the final season. Yeah, I absolutely cannot wait to see where they go with it. And yeah, as long as the characters, the story serves their final narrative in a satisfying way. I mean, that's all you can really ask for. Well, we'll see you all for part 2, I'm sure, in a couple weeks. But until then, stay classy.
Stay classy, Santiago.